Paimon and Redbird meet Fontaine. Fontaine meet Paimon and Redbird. Alright everyone, we are going to fly literally across Fontaine with this cute little Saurian. This is a Saurian that's been released in 5.2. I think it's called a Qucusaur or whatever you want to call it. And it's really awesome to just be on the highest point in Genshin Impact. This is the one mountain out of bounds in Fontaine. And just to be able to go across and fly across the region, it's so cool. By the way, Celestia is higher, but let's not count technicalities. Right, so the first question is how. I mean, that's what everyone wants. They don't really care about the view and the image. Although for people that haven't really seen Fontaine out of bounds, this will certainly be a kind of a new experience, so do enjoy that. Right. How to do this is difficult. How to do this on PC, which is what I'm playing in 5.2, is even more difficult. Now, you require a couple of techniques to break the Paimon barrier, otherwise you can't take the Saurian out of Natlan and you can't take the Phlogiston out. Yes, we are flying with Phlogiston, and it is just... it's difficult. Look, I'm not going to give the tutorial. Hoyo it's not just about flying with the Qucusaur here, it's a whole lot of things that Hoyo can absolutely ruin if they find out exactly how this is done. So apologies for that, but it is what it is. Regardless, one of the cool things that we have is we've got a phlogiston bar with the Qucusaur here, which means that the total flight time is roughly about 7 minutes. But since I practically wasted all of mine getting up the mountain, the flight time is about 6 minutes and 30 seconds for those of you that are interested. So I'll show you the rest of the flight, but let's quickly see how I got up the mountain, because this in and of itself is quite a journey. So I had to take this little creature from Natlan, and there's no teleporting involved because you cannot teleport Saurians, so it's literally walking all the way there. Quite difficult, but as you can see, we got to Fontaine after listening to a podcast from CoffeeZilla, Voidzilla, whatever you want to call him, and the latest Bitcoin scam. There's always something on his channel about that, which is kind of cool. And after listening to that and struggling to get up this mountain, I finally discovered, hey, you know, we're reaching the top. I can't reach the top, so I'm gonna look at the butt of the bird and discover an entirely new novel technique towards flying up literally against a slanted slope ever so slightly. It's one of those technical things that Hoyo never really tested for in their beta. I mean, who wouldn't test for an out of bounds area flying up? I mean, kind of lazy beta testers. But yes, after lots of patience, I fell down a couple of times and wasted my phlogiston, but I eventually got there by nightfall. Actually, I should be quite honest, this is the start of the morning, so you can imagine how long it took me in-game just to get up this mountain. But here we are, and that is kind of the story of how I got there. Well, not really. A part of it was traversing throughout Fontaine, so I want to give you this other image of us flying to Fontaine, because I also thought this looks quite cool. We're just gonna make the hut disappear and then the Saurian will just fly over, which is really cool. And you'll see that Kokomi is currently inside the Saurian. Don't know how that happened, it just happens because, well, we're a Kokomi mains channel, but this is so cool. But more generally, let's talk a bit about a couple of interesting things. All right, so being able to do this in the background here, yes, it involves quite a bit of novel work and learning how the game works and so on. But the problem that I have, and I think a lot of people will soon have, is that Hoyo is really clamping down on all the methods to kind of glitch the game. We're not doing anything illegal here. We're not messing with the game. We're not hacking it. This is all done literally just using what is available inside the game. So a lot of this involves what's called using simultaneous inputs, internet disconnects, and knowing in which order you should be doing these things. And Hoyo has been clamping down on a lot of these cool techniques by, for instance, restricting the types of simultaneous inputs you can do. So for instance, in the past, you could break through the Paimon barrier using the group chat, the in-game chat, pressing it at the same time as you press the Statue of the Seven, doing some shenanigans with teleporting across the map, and very quickly you could break through a Paimon barrier. That's no longer available. If you try and do simultaneous inputs, the game literally just hides the chat menu. It's the same for the battle pass, the wishing, and some of the other menus as well. Even if you bring up 3 or 4 menus simultaneously, as when you interact with, let's say, a statue of 7 or an NPC or the crafting bench or whatever, Hoyo just closes all of them in rapid succession. So this has been a massive nerf we've seen in Genshin 5.2, because it means that a lot of the techniques and ways we used the menu are no longer valid. And that also means that the number of ways you can effectively go out of bounds and trigger or go beyond the Paimon barrier are also significantly reducing. Currently, that I know of, there are 2 main ways to break the Paimon barrier, and both of them actually are different. So the one here in the background allows you to play the in-game music, you can hear character voice lines, but for instance you can't hear anything with regards to Paimon. And the other method, which is more like my method, you can hear Paimon, but then the background is muted and you can't hear character voices. That's just because of how the way you like set up the glitch and the different priorities the sounds take, but both give you the same result. And I know for a fact that the amount of ways that you can do this, because I've been doing out of bounds like for more than a year now, has rapidly decreased. The amount of complexity and the techniques involved is very difficult. I'd say apart from my personal unique method, which I've since privated on the channel, there is no real reliable way to do this on PC for most people. And even if you can do it, there's the amount of trickery involved, I think, becomes quite absurd. Although after a while, if you've mastered it, it becomes second nature, but it's still very, very difficult. So yes, it's not like people like myself really want to gatekeep all of these things. It's more so to say, hey, let people like me put in the effort. I'll show you some of the cool things, like for instance you saw now some of the out of bounds areas that you're not normally able to see. You can see some cool things flying here because, well, let's be honest, if you had to do this, would you really have the patience and the know-how? Even if you had the know-how, but would you really have the patience to take a Qucusaur and walk for almost half an hour and figure out how to climb on top of a mountain, also that you can post something cool on TikTok? I mean, if you really want to, just clip segments of this video, because this video is in 4K, and post it on TikTok. I really don't mind. But the point is, would you really want to put in all that effort, or are you really just interested in seeing something new, something novel that you don't see from other content creators, and something that would otherwise really be quite a pain in the butt to kind of do? So that's kind of my stance. I mean, for the Qucusaur here, I had to literally walk across the tram line all the way to the court of Fontaine. I mean, that is painful because you can't teleport. In any case, one thing here in the background which is really cool is that you can see Elenas, I think that's the dragon. You can see like a proper shot of the dragon and how the full dragon body and face and all of that looks. This is not typically something you see in Fontaine or you really notice unless you have this aerial view, because most people, when they play the game, don't traverse. They go from teleport waypoint to teleport waypoint, apart from the initial just unlocking it, and then they don't really care. Well, except for getting treasure chests, but thereafter most people don't travel like literally by walking, which means you do miss out on a couple of things. And I do think that Hoyo could do more to make images and sites like these more accessible to people, but that's just my personal opinion. But there we go, we've gotten one ancient bird landing on one ancient dragon, and I think that should be absolutely it for this video here on the beautiful sunset with Paimon and the Qucusaur. I didn't plan this, but it just so happened to work out really nicely with the sunset. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. And no, I'm not going to thank you yet, because we need to throw the big fat bird into the water and see what happens, because why not? This is going to be super fun. Let's see. And oh, a Kokomi popped out. Well, that's certainly an outfit for the follow-up video. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching.